morning, good morning. We're ready for section 16.2. We're doing square roots. So now we're familiar, this is on page 319. We're familiar with exponents that we did yesterday. It's time to take a look at another related notation, square roots. Now as we've seen, we call multiplying a number by itself squaring the number. So you take 2 times 2, it's 2 squared, which equals 4. Okay, what if we want to find out what number multiplied by itself would equal a number? The square root, often shown with this symbol, it's a way of concisely asking for the number that times itself will equal the number given. For example, what if we knew the area of a square was 4 square feet, but we didn't know the length of the sides? Well, to find the length of one side of a square when we know the area, we really need to find out what number times itself will equal that area. This is exactly what the square root of the area will tell us. The number that times itself equals that area. Now, the formula to find the area of a square is A equals S squared. Okay? The formula to find the length of each side of a square is the square root of the area equals side, or written this way. Okay, now, so how do we find the square root of a number? Well, let's take a look. Now, think about what we're trying to find when we're finding a square root. We want to find a number that times itself equals the number given. So in other words, we need to find the factor that times itself equals the number of which we're finding the square root. Any thoughts as to a technique that can help us find those? Factoring. So if we factor a number down to its primes, we can more easily spot the square root. For example, so the square root of 4, let's factor that. Well, factor tree brings you to 2 times 2. Remember, you go all the way down to its prime factors. So that means that the square root of 4 is 2. So the sides of a square whose area is 4 square feet are each 2 feet long. So look at the next page, top of page 320. And there you have that little square it's giving you an example of. It's 2 feet by 2 feet. So the area is 4 square feet. Well, the area, the square root of the area equals side. And there they plugged it in. Each side is 2 feet. 2 feet times 2 feet equals 4 square feet. Now, this tells us, the next section tells us that not all the time is it going to be easy. Now, and generally for the most part, you're going to know what it is. So we're going to find the square root of 36. Okay, well, you probably already know that that's going to equal 6 because 6 times 6 is 36. But let's figure out how you do that. So they've factored it down. You see where they did? They did the factor tree for 36, and they went down and they chose 3 times 12. And then 3 is already prime, so just bring that back down. And 12 would be 3 and 4. Okay, this one's still prime. This one's already prime. And then they're going to bring down this to its prime factors. Now we're down to our prime factors, okay? Now, you can't say, oh, it's 2 and 3. No, that's not the case. What you're going to do is you can clump prime factors together to find a factor that times itself will equal 36. So our answer would be 2 times 3. You could take one of each of these and you would get 6. So then you know the square root of 36 equals 6. Actually, it equals, well, yeah, it equals 36. So sometimes you're just going to know, like on this one, you probably already knew that because you know some of the numbers and what the factor times itself equals, you know, because we've been doing that since you've learned multiplication. Now, you don't always have to show that. Factoring, look at the example at the bottom. Okay, we know it says find the length of the side of a square with an area of 64 square feet. So you would write it, you know, you'd write your little formula, the area equals the side. And it tells us that the area is 64 square feet equals S. Okay, so then your answer would show 64 square feet equals, you know that 8 times 8 is 64, so that would be your answer. This is just how you would write it. Okay, you can always double check it by, it shows you at the bottom how to double check it, just plugging in the numbers backwards. Look at the top of 321. Now a square field has an area of 25 square feet. You want to put a fence enclosing the field. This means that you need to know the length of each side. What's the length of each side of the square? Well, there they've gone. They've written it just like this. Okay, they've written out the whole formula. Make sure I know you're like, oh, that's the dumbest thing. I don't want to keep writing all that kind of stuff. Do that, because as we get into book 2, it's going to be very important to write each step down. So just like they put it, the square root, the area of the square root equals S. Plug in the area, the square root of 25 square feet equals S, and then you just know what it is. It's 5. Now, and then you can double check it if you want to, but you don't have to. Now, look at the note right in the center of the page. We could continue on to find the amount of fencing we need by finding the perimeter now that we know the length of each side. If the length of each side is 5 feet and there are 4 sides to a square, the perimeter would be 4 times 5 feet or 20 feet. So we would need 20 feet of fencing to enclose the square field. That's just showing you the rest of the problem. Okay, positive and negative square roots. Now this is a very important little section. Technically, the square root of 25 could be either 5 or negative 5. We would express this as plus or negative 5. Means it could be either. After all, negative 5 times negative 5 also equals 25. However, context will often tell us whether we're interested in the positive or negative square root. If there's no context, in other words, if it doesn't tell you one way or the other, just list it this way. Put your plus negative in front of it, saying it could be either one of these. Okay? All right, so let's look at our worksheet. 16.2. All right, we're going to get to use a calculator down on number 4, 5, and 6 on the back. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this whole entire page with you like I did the one yesterday. It should be pretty easy. On number 1, where it says find the square root of each of these numbers, if you need help, try factoring them and using that information to find the square root. Okay, so like on 196 and 225, you probably won't need much help on letter D. You should know what that is, but you may not, and if not, that's okay. You can factor down. Remember, factor down and then multiply your numbers until you find that square root. Okay, make sure that you write the answer with the plus or negative. So for instance, on A, you know what the square root of 49 is. So your answer would be plus or negative 7, because you know 7 times 7 is 49. So this would be your answer on A. So make sure you do B, C, and D that way. Just the way you find it is just get your factor tree going until you get all to its prime factors. And I believe you multiply all the different factors together, whatever you get, okay? Look at part 2, the length of the squares. On A, B, and C, you're going to be writing your whole formula this way, okay? Number 3, you're just going to write what it says, the answer there. Number 4, you're going over exponents, and you can use your calculator for that. And number 5 as well. Number 6 is conversion practice. Remember to write your conversions out with your ratios there. And then number 7, order of operations with roots. Okay, so go ahead and do those as best you can. Not going to grade this page. It's a very important page. If you need help on any section of it, just let me know and I'll be happy to help you. But this should be a pretty easy one to go to. This is a pretty easy lesson. Okay, if you need help, let me know. That's all for today.
Yeah!